But unfortunately, the real problem with the debt in the United States is not servicing it. It's the economic distortions that are created by the government spending. You see, so we've to sit there and say that we've got this exorbitant privilege, I would say it's the exact opposite from a standpoint of this just allows us to continue to charge the credit card more and 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 more because of the dynamics of the global monetary system. The way the monetary system is set up outside the United States, where all these dollars are created in the Eurodollar system, I won't go into great detail, but it sets a bid for treasuries. That's why. If you go back and look at this explosion in debt, the explosion in deficits, you have to ask yourself, why have we not seen the rubber meet the road already? Why? Why are interest rates at 3.6 and not already at 10? You think the Treasury market doesn't know about the unfunded liabilities? You think the Treasury market doesn't know about the de-dollarization? You think they don't know about the BRICS currency? You think they don't know about Social Security payments and the Social Security fund going broke? Of course they do. Of course. Remember, there's information asymmetry, Daniela, meaning that we have the least amount of information. All of that is already priced in to the Treasury curve, or excuse me, it's already priced in to the interest rates themselves. And what they're telling you is we want more. Why? Because this is really the underpinning, the collateral, the treasuries, is the underpinning for the global monetary system. And I don't like it. And also too, I'd remind you that as the global economy slows down, that means the demand for the collateral that underpins the global monetary system increases. Right? And that just gives the United States the ability to spend more and more and more and more and more and more and more, which creates these economic distortions, which is why the poor and the middle class right now are suffering through a Great Depression. It's why when I go to Tucson, Arizona, I see a zombie apocalypse of drug addicted homeless people walking around with heroin needles sticking out of their arm. That's why. It's because the government spending created that. The central planners and authoritarians that gave everyone this bullshit stimmy check and then locked everyone in a cage for 2 years and told them that they couldn't produce any goods and services because they were non-essential. That's why we've got the drug problem. That's why we've got the poor middle class in an economic depression. And unfortunately, there's nothing that stops it because there's this insatiable demand for treasuries because of the way the global monetary system is constructed to begin with.
You just you brought up a very, very valid points, and I'm sure someone's yelling at the screen saying, well, George, what would you label 35 trillion in debt then? If it's not a debt crisis, what is 35 trillion in debt?
It's 35 trillion in government spending, above and beyond taxes, for heaven's sakes. But I think a better way to look at it is the government spending as a percentage of GDP. That's your problem. That's your problem. So as the government spending as a percentage of GDP goes up and up and up, the economic efficiency goes down, 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 down. That's why central planning and communism doesn't work, right? That's why those economies don't produce a lot of goods and services, right? Because they're centrally planned, meaning government spending is 100% of GDP. So right now we're about 50%. So as the government spending goes higher and higher and higher, which it absolutely will. I'm not sitting here saying that the deficits are going to improve or that the U.S. debt is not going to explode. It absolutely is. In fact, I would probably argue that it's going to go a lot higher and it's going to get a lot worse than most people that claim the Treasury market is going to blow up. I would say, as far as the deficits and the debt, I'd say it's going to go way higher. I would not be surprised if in the next 5 years, the debt is well north of 50 trillion. Well, maybe even 3 years, especially if we have a recession and the deficit to GDP goes up to, who knows, 15, 20%. But that doesn't mean that the price is going to be paid in the Treasury market. That doesn't mean that we're going to have a hard time financing our debt or our deficits. It just means that we're going to have an additional amount of government spending that is going to continue and exacerbate the problem of misallocation of resources and malinvestment